Hey guys, it's Goosebumps Completionist, and today I am bringing you a book review from the Goosebumps Haunted Library series. Now, I am reviewing the third book in the Haunted Library trilogy, also known as the rarest of the three, and quite arguably could be considered the rarest Goosebumps book of all time, and that is the Halloween game. Now, this was a Hershey's promotional book back in the 90s. I think there was three ways to obtain this. Hershey's partnered with like Pepsi, and there's a way to mail UPCs to acquire this book. There was a way to, I think, order through a catalog, and you got the entire collection here. And I think you had to do that through a Hershey's catalog or something like that. And there was a third way to get it, and I think that was through the Goosebumps fan club, which also had a way to get this. And I'm very fortunate to own this book. This little book right here is so rare. Most people have no idea how rare it is. I've only seen it for sale by itself one time, and to even own a complete haunted library is super expensive. And I just wanted to review this because it's around Halloween. I want to see what this story is about. Now, the story is 19 pages. So it's not going to be the greatest thing ever. Like, if this was like a full-size book, just thinking about that, it might be like one page front and back with font, maybe two, but it's fun. It's a fun little story for what it is. It's not great or amazing by any stretch of the imagination, but it captures that spirit of Halloween there, I have to say. So the story starts off with the main character, which, by the way, the main character in this book does not have a name, which is quite odd for a Goosebumps story. Normally, I think in 99.9% of Goosebumps stories I've read, there's always some name reveal. In this book, there is none for the main character. I'm not kidding. So there is an unnamed main character in this. I looked all around through it. I could not find what this person's name was. But that's beyond the point. So the main character and their two friends, Krista and Carl, have gotten ready to go trick-or-treating one Halloween night. They're 12 years old, and they get to talk, and then they start to think that maybe they're too old to go trick-or-treating. Maybe there's other ways to have fun on Halloween. So they remember that this kid named Miles is having a Halloween party down the street. So they go to this kid Miles' house, and Miles immediately tells them that everybody at the party is about to go play this game at his Aunt Freda's house down a few blocks. And the point of the game is to go and find his Aunt Freda's house, which, by the way, looks just like Miles' house, according to the story. Now, if you make your way to Aunt Freda's house, if you make your way inside, there's a scavenger hunt going on for some really good candy, and that is the game they're playing. It's like a scavenger hunt type of game. So the main character, Krista and Carl, say, all right, let's go do this. Let's go find his Aunt Freda's house. It shouldn't be hard. It looks just like Miles' house, which in the story is described as this big, kind of haunted mansion-looking house. So you would figure that it would be easy to spot. Now, after they agreed to start playing this Halloween game, they start to make their way down the street and turn a couple blocks to go to his Aunt Freda's house. And Carl falls, and there's a scene here that's pretty uncommon in Goosebumps where he falls and breaks his arm. And he's, screaming in pain. And when Krista and the main character go to help Carl, they're interrupted by this growling panther that comes out of the bushes, and basically he's going to eat Carl alive. And they realize they can do nothing for him, so they just leave him to die. And they continue on to go to Aunt Freda's house for some candy. Now, the main character and Krista eventually make it to the block where Aunt Freda's house would be, and they realize that there's rows of houses that look identical, just like Miles' house. So, which one is the real house to go into to do the scavenger hunt? So the main character and Krista have to play around with the first house to see if that's the right house. And when they go up to the house, they see this fire burning in the garage. And they get spooked a little bit and they decide to try to run away. But as they try to run away, they realize it's a dragon coming out of the house. And the dragon has picked up Krista by her costume. And the main character realizes again there's nothing they can do for Krista. So Krista gets carried away by the dragon, presumably to be killed and eaten by the dragon. And then the main character eventually sees some people inside of this one house, and they go inside of it, and they realize that this has to be Aunt Freda's house. There's trick-or-treaters around, scavenging throughout the whole house. But the main character gets the idea to go look upstairs because there appears to be no one upstairs. And the main character makes it into a bedroom where the main character is basically confronted by 3 green ghouls, or ghosts, if you want to call them that. And there's the twist of the story. This is the game you're playing to die kind of thing. And then there's another twist on top, like a complete 180, where there's like this meta ending to this little story here that kind of reveals that this whole story basically wasn't reality at all. It has something to do with video games. I'll kind of hint you to that. And that's basically the end to the story. So yeah, the Halloween game was a fun little romp. For it being the rarest Goosebumps book, and for it being this size, I knew that this was probably not going to be the best thing ever. But it does have its positives here, and that is the scene with Carl and Krista and how it's so, I don't know how to put this. It's just so out of character for a Goosebumps book to leave characters for dead like that, and it's kind of a treat to read this and something like this. I'm assuming that this was allowed in something like this because this was not being mass produced to be like released at bookstores or anything. This was supposed to be like a promotional item, like people would probably read maybe 10 times and then they'll lose it or gets thrown away in the trash. But yeah, I like that aspect about there's some genuine like scary things going on in this story. Even though like the story is like very quick, very short and sweet, it does have that Halloween atmosphere. Like walking down the street, trying to find this creepy house. Talking about trick or treating. It touches on the typical Halloween night that kids, especially around 12-year-old kids, would probably experience. I know I did when I was 12. But going into the negatives, the characters aren't that riveting. Like this is a 19-page story. You're not going to get hardly any character development here. The whole thing seemed really random. Like the whole panther thing and the whole dragon thing just seemed very, very random in this story. But that's to be expected, kind of. But I'm not going to lie, it's still not good. When the main character finally makes it to Aunt Freda's house, that I was like, okay, something's about to happen here. And then we get the twist with the ghouls in the room, or the ghosts. And then the meta ending happens. And this is what just really, meta sometimes works in Goosebumps when it's done correctly. Meta has to make sense to the story, and something like this, a meta ending, just does not land whatsoever, I would say. And I am critiquing a 19-page story here that, like I said, if it was a full-size book, it would be maybe 1 to 2 pages. But nonetheless, if I had to rate it from a 0 to 5 stars, I'm going to grade it on the short story criteria. Was it unique? Did it convey horror? And was there a sense of resolution within the story to make it make sense? All in all, I think the horror was there in some scenes because, like I said, you never see some of this stuff in Goosebumps in general, leaving people for dead like that. You might see that in like a Give Yourself Goosebumps as a choice, but you'll never see it in like an actual story, most likely. But other than that, the main characters, are kind of caricatures. It's been done in other Halloween stories before, especially in Goosebumps. You know, the trio on Halloween. I mean, it's been done before. Um, Trying to find the haunted house to play a game. And, you know, similarities here and there. The originality is kind of there, but doesn't really expand on the originality. And the whole story, as it is just a hodgepodge of different stuff going on. So, for a short story, I'd probably give this, you know, with all the problems I said, I'd probably deduct 2.5 out of 5 off and probably just give this a 2.5 out of 5 for a short story. Normally, with a book, a 2.5 I think is bad. For a short story, a 2.5 is still not a stellar rating, but I think it's okay for a short story, especially given its length here. I don't think it's the most egregious thing ever, but I don't think it's all that special either. Especially for it being the rarest book, I was kind of let down with this, but like I said, it was to be expected. So yeah, that is the Halloween game from the Haunted Library Trilogy. Let me know in the comments section if you have ever read this. Did you love this or did you hate this? Do you even still have this book? I'm dying to know, and I'll see you next time.